Good evening. Thank you so much, Congressman Clyburn. I'm deeply, deeply honored to accept this award tonight. It's a particular thrill because it comes from the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, whose leadership has for so long been an inspiration to me and to so many others. The Congressional Black Caucus has a tradition of educating and developing the next generation, spurring their interest in public service and expanding their sense of the possible. Long before tonight, you have done this personally and profoundly for me. When I was in high school, some 30 years ago, one of your most distinguished predecessors, the great pioneer, Congressman Augustus Hawkins of California, gave me my very first opportunity to serve in government. I had the privilege of spending 3 summers working as an intern on his House Education and Labor Committee and his Subcommittee on Employment Opportunities, both of which he chaired so ably. Congressman Hawkins, the author of so much landmark legislation, was the first to show me the profound good a dedicated public servant can do. Then, after completing my master's degree, I faced what it seemed to me at the time a tough choice, whether to go on to law school, as I had planned for so long, or continue on and get my degree, my PhD, in international relations. I was torn, and I turned to another member of the Congressional Black Caucus for guidance, my hometown Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton. She was then a professor at Georgetown Law School, but she challenged me to look beyond the law. I'll never forget. She said, "So how old would you be when you finish your doctorate?" 25, I replied. And she looked at me with a tinge of sarcasm and said, "Well, you probably wouldn't be too old at 25 to go on to law school if that's what you decided to do. But if you're passionate about international affairs, you should go on and get your PhD." She said, "There are a lot of us who are lawyers, but there are very few of us who are in diplomacy and national security." Well, needless to say, her advice proved pivotal in setting my career path. And then years later, I joined the US government during the Clinton administration, and I had the privilege to work on Africa policy. That's when I got to know so many of the members of the Black Caucus well. But I must pay particular tribute to Congressman Donald Payne, whose knowledge, commitment, and leadership on African issues has been and remains unmatched. He challenged me to rethink standard assumptions. He beat me up when I deserved it. And he supported me on countless occasions, large and small, when so easily he could have just walked away. I cannot thank him enough for his compassion, his friendship, and his tireless work. But together, all the members of the CBC have for so long been the conscience of the Congress on crucial matters of foreign policy, leading the fight against apartheid, demanding the restoration of democracy in Haiti, questioning the Iraq War, insisting on peace and justice in Sudan, and calling for robust action to end the genocide in Darfur. Over the years, your leadership has made a tremendous difference for America, for Africa and the Caribbean, and for the entire world. And today, ladies and gentlemen, our world is more interconnected than at any point in human history. We will rise and fall together. If Somalia is forsaken, violent extremists can find their way to our shores. If horrific violence in the Congo rages on unchecked, all of our consciences are shamed. If disease festers anywhere, pandemic can affect us everywhere. But just as our perils are shared, so too are our opportunities. As President Obama so often says, we must strengthen our common security by investing in our common humanity. And you in the Congressional Black Caucus and all of you in this room do this every day. As you broaden the horizons of our young people, harness the strength of our diversity, and insist that we work in equal partnership with others in pursuit of a more peaceful, more just, and more democratic world. Thank you so much for all you have done for me. And more importantly, thank you for what you continue to do for so many others. Good night.
Susan Rice. Oh my goodness, let's give her another round of applause. The U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. And what she and our president certainly were talking about is the fact that our fate is inextricably bound. And I remember the profound words of the poet laureate of Illinois, the first African American to win a Pulitzer Prize, the beloved Gwendolyn Brooks. She said, we are each other's keeper. We are each other's harvest. We are each other's magnitude and bond. And it's such a joy to see the President and the First Lady, and there's Black love in the White House. Black love is in the White House, Black love in the Attorney General's home, and Black love up in the Congress. And so, in appreciation of the spirit of companionship and loving union, please welcome the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Spouses, Mrs. Simone Marie Meeks, wife of the Honorable Gregory Meeks of New York.
Good evening. On behalf of the members of the Congressional Black Caucus Spouses, I am honored to welcome you and thank each of you for your presence this evening and unwavering support of the CBC and CBCF. As chair of the CBC Spouses, I'm immensely proud of our record of service and exhibition of support to not only spouses, but to families and students across America. Since the inauguration of the CBC Spouses more than 30 years ago, we have awarded more than $11 million in scholarships to deserving students. This major milestone could not be accomplished without the exceptional expertise and hard work of all the Congressional Black Caucus Spouses. Please join me in acknowledging this dynamic body. First, the Dean of the Congressional Black Caucus Spouses, Mrs. Alma Rangel. Mrs. Lillian Lewis, Mrs. Emily Clyburn, spouse to the Honorable Jim Clyburn, Mrs. Gwen Towns of New York, Mrs. Yuleda Watt, of North Carolina, Mrs. Alfredia Scott, co-chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Spouses, Mrs. Ivy Clay, secretary, Mrs. Marita Davis Johnson, treasurer, the Honorable Leslie Meek, the immediate past chair of the CBC Spouses, the Honorable Vivian Crichton Bishop of Georgia, the Honorable Sandy Jackson, Mrs. Renee Chenault Fatah of Philadelphia, Dr. Elwyn Lee, Mrs. Carolyn Rush, an inspiration to us all, Mrs. Kim Ellison, Mr. Christian Christensen, Mrs. Diane Cleaver, Mrs. Mariama Shahid Carson, Dr. Berlene Barris, Mrs. Tara Davis, Dr. Maya Rakimore Cummings, Mrs. Monica Conyers, Ambassador Sidney Williams, Dr. London Thompson. I'd ask you to salute all of the spouses of the Congressional Black Caucus, and I'd like to say also that as the President says, Black love lives also in the House of Representatives and the Senate as well. And we are those who support our husbands and wives. And when the President of the United States comes to speak to the Congressional Black Caucus members, the spouses of those members should be shown the respect to be entitled to stand alongside their spouses as well. I hope in the future, all of you who are here will ensure that your spouses are seen and heard, as are the members of the Congressional Black Caucus. We thank you for your support and hope to see you again next year. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Yvette Clarke from Brooklyn, New York.
Good evening, everyone. I am Congresswoman Yvette Clarke of the 11th Congressional District, Brooklyn, New York, and I've been the proud co-host of this year's annual legislative conference. Have you all enjoyed the conference this year? I'd like to thank my extraordinary co-chair, the Honorable Shaka Fatah of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have the distinct honor of kicking off a segment of our Phoenix Awards. And I am just so honored to bring to you a woman that I know that you feel as endeared to as I do. She is one of America's most revered dramatic actresses, a maverick, which has been crowned with a wealth of firsts. The legendary Cicely Tyson. Like me, Cicely Tyson is of Caribbean descent. She is the first African-American actress to win an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Television Movie for her portrayal of the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. In 1972, she was nominated for Best Actress in a Leading Role for her Oscar performance in Lady Sings the Blues and Sounder, respectively, only the second time an African-American actress has been nominated in the history of the Academy Awards. Cicely Tyson, Empress, Princess, Diva, exhibits an abounding spirit and beauty which served to launch her rich career in show business over 50 years. Ms. Tyson is a modern-day liberator, civil rights activist, and the true embodiment of womanhood. It is my great honor to salute a stellar woman, an outstanding human being, an exceptional, phenomenal Miss Cicely Tyson. Everyone, please. Miss Cicely Tyson, get to your feet for Miss Cicely Tyson. She has given so much to our communities. She is such an outstanding woman. God bless you. Cicely Tyson.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I did not. It's all right, it's all right. I have a slight correction to make. I did not do Lady Sings the Blues. That was Diana Ross.
Well, we'll take that back.
It's ironic to me that exactly 39 years ago, I was introduced to the Black Caucus. I had done a movie entitled Sounder, for which I was nominated and given a great deal of accolades. I received a telephone call from my manager who said that the Black Caucus was holding a luncheon for me. And of course, I was reluctant to believe him because I wondered why. Nonetheless, it was true. I came to Washington and I was introduced to the then members of the Black Caucus. One of the things that I would be remiss if I didn't say is that they have supported me all these years. All these years, and they are still here, and so am I, in the hopes that they will continue to do that. I want you all to know, all of you ladies and gentlemen in the audience, that I would not be standing before you if it were not for your support over all these years. It is a source of amazement to me that I am still here in this business, working, being nominated. It is a source of absolute amazement to me. And I know that it's simply because of your support all these years. Do know that I do not take it lightly, and I ask you to stay with me. God bless you all. Thank you.
Well, we started with a summit on poverty. We moved to an economic town meeting. We've had hundreds of brain trusts and workshops, a great prayer breakfast, and now this fabulous dinner with both the First Lady and the President of the United States. It has been a deep honor to serve with Congresswoman Yvette Clark, my co-chair. Give her a big round of applause. I'm here to present a Phoenix Award to a young lady who has not just served as one of the original Dream Girls, but much more importantly, she has worked both here in the States and in the Caribbean and in Africa, focused on the #1 health challenge of our times, HIV/AIDS. Shirley Ralph has had a tremendous career as an artist and as an actress, but much more importantly, she is saving lives every day. So we in the Congressional Black Caucus, and as one of the honorees tonight, who is active and involved and engaged in the passion and action of our times, I ask you to welcome our awardee, Shirley Ralph. She's married to the best state senator ever elected in Philadelphia, but she is doing a wonderful job and having an impact on tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives across our country and across the globe. Shirley Ralph, give her a great round of applause as we present this award.
But I sing no victim song. I am a woman, I am an artist, and I know where my voice belongs. I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am a woman, I am an artist, and I know where my voice belongs. Protocol having been met by our president, I want to thank Congressman Shaka Fattah. I want to thank all of the members from the Congressional Black Caucus, present and past. I want to thank you all. I know sometimes my voice has been very loud. I know I have come talking to you each and every time I was in your presence about HIV and AIDS. Because I, as part of the original company of Dream Girls, I remember a time when men dropped dead of a mysterious disease with no name. They were sick today and dead tomorrow. They were sick today and dead tomorrow. There was no dying process like the one we become used to nowadays. They got sick and they died, and many of them under stigma, shame, and silence. but we thought it was okay to let those men suffer, those gay men suffer. We found it easy to stand in judgment and point fingers at they, them, and those, saying that's what they deserve. That's what they get. God will take care of them. 27 years later, God certainly has taken care of them, because now this disease that used to be called GRID, gay-related immune deficiency disease, we now know it as HIV / or forward, depending upon whether you're a person or a computer, AIDS. And you know there's a big difference between that G and that H, because gay became human. Gay became human, and that is too bad, because it always was. Maybe if we had paid attention back then, I wouldn't stand here representing one of the fastest growing groups to become infected, and that would be black women. Maybe if we had dared to care back then, we would not be sitting here in our nation's capital with rising HIV and AIDS rates that rival sub-Saharan Africa. Maybe if we had dared to find our voice on this issue, the CDC could not say that 1 in 4 young women across America is already infected with some sort of sexually transmitted infection. And they didn't say black girls, they didn't say white girls, they didn't say red girls, they didn't say brown girls. They said 1 in 4 young women across America is already infected with some sort of STI, and we have done and said nothing. So I thank the Congressional Black Caucus for leading on this issue, and I'm sad that I have to accept an award for the work that I do, because it's not pretty, it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, but it is the kind of work that must be done, because sure as I am standing here, AIDS affects us all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and I love you in ways you will never completely understand.
Please welcome back to the stage CBCF President, the Honorable Kendrick Meek, and CBC Chairwoman, the Honorable Barbara Lee, to present the Mickey Leland Award.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. It gives Madam Chair Barbara Lee and I a great honor to honor such a great man who once walked the halls of Congress. U.S. Senator Teddy Kennedy made it possible for many of us who are elected now in voting for and supporting civil rights legislation, was a man from one of the most privileged families in the United States of America that know what it meant to represent the common man and the common woman. And we at the CBC are honored to not only have his memory in our hearts, but to also recognize his purpose in Congress.
Senator Kennedy was not afraid of any issue. His tenure in the United States Senate spanned 47 years under 10 United States presidents. 10 United States presidents. He penned more than 300 bills, which became law, earning him the title of the greatest senator of this century. And tonight we are honored to bestow the Mickey Leland Award to the life and legacy of Senator Ted Kennedy. Accepting the honors for his late father, Senator Kennedy, one who reminded us that health care should not be a privilege but a basic human right, our friend and colleague, the Honorable Patrick Kennedy.
Thank you, Chairwoman Barbara Lee. And thank you, Congressional Black Caucus, for honoring my father. And thank you, Senator Kendrick Meek. I want to say, really the fight of my dad's life was for the dignity of the human person. It didn't matter what the issue was. It was the golden rule. Treat others as you would want to be treated. Health care, civil rights, housing, education. How would you want to be treated? That was the simple litmus test. And I think it's a litmus test that too often is ignored in the halls of Congress when people try to make policy for other people, discounting how this world affects them and forgetting the fact that many times the people who live in the Congress, who work in the Congress, often are separated from the real world realities that most of the people they represent face on a daily basis. And my father's most famous quote was, with respect to health care, why shouldn't the health care that is afforded the people of the United States Congress be afforded to the same people that they represent in these United States of America? So when the United States Congress votes on health care, perhaps they should look into their own health care coverage and ask the question, if it's good enough for me, why isn't it good enough for all of my constituents? But I would say today, perhaps the issue that he would speak on today that's more significant than any particular issue that he faced in Congress is the issue of whether we can take up issues, whether we can debate issues, whether we as a nation can actually come together as we have when we've been at the best in our society and resolve our common problems as a community. Winston Churchill once said, democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others. And in fact, with the tenor of the times that we see today, I would venture to say that the disagreement and dissent that he saw in his day have their place, yet there's no place for the vitriolic and hate-filled speech that has enraged our national discourse as of late. Left unchecked, such incendiary speech deteriorates the integrity of our democracy and threatens to distort our true identity of Americans and divert us from our desired destiny of bringing this country to peaceful resolution of our problems. We have stood in that place before, and we've stood there too long. It was a time when violence quelled progress, a time when words of hate and intolerance and veiled and unveiled racism ran amok before, during the 60s. And it was a time when not only Dr. King's life was taken, but it was a time when my uncle's lives were taken. So anybody who tries to make this an issue of race is sorely mistaken, because this is an issue of intolerance bordering on violence that cannot be permitted to continue in this country. If you wonder why I haven't dressed in a black tie tonight, it's because I had to come from my home state, from Rhode Island, after having gone to a town hall meeting. Yes, I went to one of those town hall meetings. But tragically, because of the volatile environment, I had to pay for my own security at that town hall meeting because of the sense of vitriol and unrest and threatening situations that we all as Congress people face whenever we go to those town hall meetings. Who amongst us can say that it's honestly free speech when someone raises a sign on the Mall of the United States Capitol 2 weeks after my father passes and says, "Let's bury Obamacare with Kennedy"? Who amongst us honestly can say that that kind of speech is truly any different than yelling fire in a crowded movie theater? And every American ought to know that this isn't an issue that's regarded by any one community in particular. This affects all Americans. When I was on the TV Larry King with my brother Ted, and all the questions always come back. Do you believe the Warren Commission? Was it a single gunman? The real question they're asking is, how could our institutions of government be so upended by single acts of violence because an environment was so permissive that that was allowed to continue and happen? My friends, those of us in Congress who are fearless enough to travel overseas in spite of the condemnation we often get by going on these foreign travels, will often tell you that we see the fact that in most parts of the world they decide who gets power based upon who has more guns, who has a bigger army, whose government is more oppressive. You might not think it in this age of 2009 going on 2010, but just think about how many people in the world live under oppression and violence. I'd venture to say more than a majority, probably more than 2/3 of the world's population is involved in civil conflict, living under tyranny or communism, or living under the threat of violence. So what we live in this country is an oasis. It's a miracle. Who can imagine that democracy has actually lasted this long? Do you realize that we are the longest continuing democracy in the whole of world history? It's nothing to be taken for granted, because I said it before, politics is a substitute for violence. And as Dr. King and others reminded us, evil exists where good people do nothing. When the national media looks the other way, and when the American public looks the other way and just looks and says, oh, that's just right-wing talk shows, or that's just a renegade extremist, they ignore the fundamental fact that this has been allowed to be propagated on the national airwaves. It's been allowed to seep into the national living rooms and be accepted because no one else has bothered to say that's unacceptable. So I wanted to be here tonight to say, with all the talk about memorializing my dad, there's one individual we have yet to memorialize property on the Mall of the United States. And the fellow that's chairman of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Commission's with us tonight, Harry Johnson. Will you come up for a second?
Thank you, Congressman Kennedy. To the Congressional Black Caucus, we thank Patrick Kennedy, we thank Congressional Black Caucus. I just want to tell you, where are we at with the Martin Luther King Memorial Project? Who would have believed some years ago when Alpha Phi Alpha members thought of the idea of building a national memorial to Dr. King that we would get one of the most coveted spots on the memorial, on the mall? We have a spot for Dr. King between the Lincoln and the Jefferson Memorial. And in my eyes and in your eyes, what better place to put a king than between two presidents? More than that, we have raised over the past few years $170 million out of the $120 million needed to build this memorial. What we are lacking, we are waiting patiently for a building permit to come from the National Park Service, and so I need your help, Congressional Black Caucus members. We need to get our building permit so that we can construct this memorial. And it will be the first memorial to a man of peace and a man of color. Thank you, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee, for your help. Thank you, Patrick Kennedy, and Chairwoman, thank you. Let's build the memorial to Dr. King.
Done. Ladies and gentlemen, give another round of applause to Patrick Kennedy and the Kennedy family that has paid a sacrifice to serve this country like no other family has paid. The family is still in bereavement and need our prayers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to present the CBC Chairman's Award, CBCF Chairman's Award to a great American, to a man that has served this country and served his great state of Georgia for over 35 years. A man who has led leaders upon leaders, elected, selected, anointed throughout this country. A man, when I came in as a state legislator, was already well into his leadership. Not only when my mother served in the state legislature, he was a leader on the scene then. Here's a man that is saw fit to stay in the Georgia Assembly doing the work on behalf of those who need a fighter. And he is now serving as the president of the National Conference of Black State Legislators. For all those state legislators that are here, will you please stand, because you're here to honor your president. Give these legislators a round of applause. They are the individuals who legislate on behalf of the people of America. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pay close attention to the video, and then the next person and the next voice that you will hear will be the president of the National Conference of Black State Legislators, one of the greatest legislators that have ever served in the halls of the legislature in Georgia, Calvin Smyrie.
Wow, this is a long way from Columbus, Georgia. But I am honored and proud to be here tonight as the president of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. To all of the state legislators in the room, this is a great evening for all of us. And I accept this award with a great deal of humility. I want to thank my longtime friend, Congressman Kendrick Meek, for that kind introduction and for his leadership as chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and his new challenge as the next senator to the great state of Florida. I also want to thank Congressional Black Caucus Chairwoman Barbara Lee and the members of the Congressional Black Caucus for this high honor. As the Dean of the Georgia House and as a member of the state legislature for 35 years of service, I have been truly blessed with many friends and supporters. Friendship is essential to the soul.
Yes, sir.
For 32 years, I have served and I have attended this Congressional Black Caucus Weekend. My first Congressional Black Caucus Weekend was 1978. I came as a third-year legislator and as a manager trainee at a company called Synovus Financial Corp. I came with the late friend Jim Davis with the Georgia Power Company. And I came as the guest of John Amos, who was the CEO and chairman of AFLAC. Fast forward, 32 years later, I'm being honored here tonight for public service. I'm still attending this great legislative conference of political dialogue and educational opportunity with my friends at AFLAC, my CBC ALC conference friend family. To the directors, Bob Wright and Ben Johnson, to the CEO, Chairman Dan Amos, and Joy Loudermilk, and Scott Wise, and all of my friends at AFLAC, and to the Southern Company family, Chris Womack, and all of my team members there, I thank you for all that you have done for me and that what you have extended to me as a member of the state legislature. I also want to take a second just to thank the members of NBCSL for your steadfast support of me as president of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. NBCSL is an organization made of 625 state legislators in 42 states, including the Virgin Islands and the District of Columbia. And we include the District of Columbia because we think D.C. ought to be a state in the United States of America. In closing, I want to recognize and thank my own Congressman, Sanford Bishop, and his lovely wife, Vivian Bishop, for their support of me, for their friendship, and for their service to the city of Columbus, the state of Georgia, and our nation. It is a true honor to be recognized by the distinguished members of the Congressional Black Caucus, where 23 members of the CBC are former state legislators, and all of them are my dear friends, and I'm appreciative of their friendship. It's always been my credo to serve. The late noted educator and the president of Morehouse College, Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, once stated that, you make your living by what you get. You make your life by what you give. I've tried to make my life by giving. So I want to thank the members of the Congressional Black Caucus for this great honor. I'll continue to work in the areas of public policy because the only people in America that set public policy are elected officials. And public policy determines how we live every day. So I will continue to provide leadership to those issues that are quality of life issues that the President spoke of tonight. Thank you, members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Thank you for this great honor. I'm duly appreciative. Thank you very much.
Good evening, my brothers and sisters. I have the great honor of presenting the George Collins Award to Wycliffe John. I really want to thank John Conyers, the dean of our delegation, our Congressional Black Caucus, for allowing me this great honor, as well as Yvette Clark, our Steny Hoyer, and so many dedicated members of the Congressional Black Caucus that understand Europe but support Africa and the Caribbean, and especially our brothers and sisters in Haiti. It's one of the most historic countries that we have. Toussaint Louverture was one of the slaves that won liberty for all of us wherever Africans found themselves. And of course, Wycliffe, come out here and join me. You've heard him rap, you've heard him romance, you've heard him give hope to so many people. But there's one quality that he has, and that is Ambassador Joseph knows it. He never, but never, forgets his brothers and sisters in Haiti. And so, whether it's arts and culture, whether it's economic support, whether it's food and education, the heartbeats of Africans all over as we reach out to our brothers and sisters in Haiti. Truly, we've had the support of so many, our Secretary of State. We've had the support of our U.S. Senator, Kristen Gillibrand. But we had the support, of course, of the ambassador to Haiti. But a true ambassador is Wycliffe Jean. Congratulations.
Real quick, they said Brooklyn people are rowdy, so I ain't gonna act rowdy. Thank you so much. Charlie Randall, this is how we do it. I ain't gonna rap for you right now, I'll do it later. Shout out to Yvette Clark, big time. Congressional Black Caucus, nothing but respect for Wycliffe. Yvette, where's your mama? Mama, what's good? We in the house. Brooklyn, love. Real quick, it's something important I put on my BlackBerry. I always talk about what I do for Haiti, but without America, I wouldn't even get that opportunity. So I'm so proud to be living in America. I love the United States of America. And at this time, I would just like to thank the Reverend Al Sharpton, of course, my homeboy, and the Secretary of Education, Arn Duncan, for their work around education reform. And I want everybody to quote this. I am going back to school. I will be attending Berkeley. I am going for my bachelor in music. And that's how important education is to me. And I plan to work with the Reverend and the Secretary on how we do not let our kids fail in the school system because they are the future of tomorrow. I want to also announce that I will not be running for the president of Haiti, despite the rumors that you hear, but I wish my uncle would run. Raymond Joseph, who's the ambassador, he's here. My uncle is out there somewhere. How you doing, Uncle? Good to see you. I also want to thank my management, Lisa Ellis, and everybody for being here. Real quick, I ain't gonna take no time, I'm gonna be quick. My memory of the Black Caucus, I came to attend, I was sitting down, a tall man was walking my way. He said, as he came my way, he shook my hand, he turned around, he said, Michelle, tell Wycliffe what's in my car. And she said, the carnival, he won't stop playing it. And that tall man happens to be the President of the United States today. So, what I want you to know, I'm gonna make this real fast and simple. I come from the hut. From the hut, like I said, I went to the projects. To the projects, I went to the mansion. And understand, I used to be in the village. I was that kid that used to take a donkey to school. When y'all portraying them ads and y'all got a picture of a naked kid that's dancing, and you show the picture and you like, please help this kid. He's hungry. This kid is depressed. I want you to know that I am that naked kid that was dancing in the rain. And I am not depressed. And I am not hungry. Be clear. What I need from y'all to do for Haiti, Haiti needs job creation. You cannot move forward. You can give as much as you want. You could give me the rod, but we don't want the rod. I want the rod, I want the boat, I want y'all to go out to the sea with us. That's what Haiti needs from y'all. And all I could remember is the words of my father. He says, you live, you die. It's what you do with the short time in the middle. So please, my people, with the short time that we have in the middle, let's all try to make a difference. I love y'all and God bless y'all.
Wyclef Jean, IT Sherry. And there's a sister in the house, Marcia Dyson, who is doing phenomenal work in Haiti, going back and forth, and giving her heart and her resources. Marcia, where are you? Stand up and take a bow. Really standing for Haiti, standing strong. The brother played Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and we believed it. Look at that. You know you're gifted.
Yes.
And so it's been our pleasure.
Yes, yes. Thank you to the CBC and the CBCF family for affording us this opportunity. Beyond tonight, please, this has been an extraordinarily inspirational night. So beyond this night, please press on in your support of the work of the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. And together, let's continue to change course, confront crises, and work toward building a more perfect union. To frame the evening officially, please welcome back to the stage CBCF Chair, the Honorable Kendrick Meek, CBCF President, Dr. Elsie Scott, CBC Chair, the Honorable Barbara Lee, and ALC Co-Chairs, the Honorable Shaka Fattah and the Honorable Yvette Clark.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have just one more person, since this is a night of stars, because there's no other dinner that's going on the face of the earth where you've heard from the top person at the UN, the President of the United States, several individuals from the entertainment industry, and great policymakers being honored tonight. Give them a round of applause, all of our honorees. I would like to recognize one man out of less than 51 individuals on the face of the earth ever make it to the rank of a 4-star general. Tonight, we have one of them. Kip Ward, 4-star general over the African Command. General Ward, thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for your service to the country, and we're honored to have you here tonight. It was an honor serving as CBCF Chair. As it's been mentioned, I will be stepping down after this year to pursue higher office, and I look forward to continue to work with the CBCF and the members of the CBC as we make this institution stronger. President Lee, I want to thank you for everything that you have done. Shaka Fattah, you're my leader when it comes down to laying the facts down. And my sister from Brooklyn, I just want to say, we've traveled to Africa together, and she told the Africans, I'm from Brooklyn. I want to thank you for all of the work that you've done. And Dr. Scott, this work that has been done over the years that we have both worked with the CBCF could not have been done without your professionalism, leadership, and management of a great team. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
Let me just take a moment to acknowledge all of the Obama administration officials with us tonight, and there are many. What a difference an election makes. Thank you so much for your presence with us tonight. Give the Obama administration officials a round of applause. Let me take a moment to once again congratulate my brother, Congressman Meek, for his leadership. I mean, hasn't he been an unbelievably stellar, brilliant leader of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation? Haven't we soared under his leadership? He has set a high standard and a new standard for the next year, so thank you so much. Let me also acknowledge Congressman Fattah and Congresswoman Yvette Clark, our co-chairs, who have just done amazing things this year with this dinner. Give them another round of applause. And our staff. For without our staff, we never could have done what we have done tonight. And Dr. Scott and the staff of the foundation, I have to thank you for your steady leadership and for making sure that the foundation works in sync with our community, leading the way to secure the future for our young people. Thank you so much. Let me also say to our spouses who are with us tonight and to all of our family members, once again, I just have to tell you, we thank you for your love and for your care and for your support and for being there and for being you and for doing the things that have to be done in your lives to really make this a better country. So thank you again to all of our CBC spouses. Give them another round of applause. We love you. So now as we prepare to leave this place and journey back to our respective communities, let us be about the real business of change and strengthening America, community by community. Until we meet again, go with God.